Hello my channel, let's go see new video.
Zara sat in her bedroom, her phone in her hand. She had intended to scroll for just a few minutes to check the latest updates from her social media feeds, but now an hour had passed. The glow of the screen illuminated her face in the dim light of her room. Notifications from various apps blinked in quick succession, each one begging for her attention. She had seen it all. Posts about her friends' perfect vacations, viral videos of dancing influencers, endless memes, and, of course, the latest news about trends and events happening around the world. It was all so addicting, so easy to fall into the cycle of checking again and again. Yet, deep down, Zara knew it wasn't making her any happier. Why am I still doing this? She thought to herself. I feel like I'm wasting time, but I can't stop. It's like I'm trapped in this loop, always checking my phone, always scrolling. It was a familiar feeling, one she had tried to ignore for months. At 25, Zara had begun to realize that her phone and social media use had slowly taken over her life. What had started as innocent browsing had become something far more intrusive. Every free moment was spent on her phone, whether it was before bed, during meals, or while waiting for a friend at a cafe. Even when she was with people, her mind often wandered back to her phone, checking for updates. Zara had tried to break free before. She had set timers to limit her social media usage. She had deleted apps temporarily, only to reinstall them days later. She had read articles about the negative impacts of smartphone addiction and the dangers of endless scrolling, but nothing seemed to change. Every attempt to stop felt like a failure. Maybe this is just how life is now, Zara mused, scrolling through her feed again. Maybe this is the price of staying connected. But something inside of her snapped. That afternoon, she decided enough was enough. She couldn't continue down this path of mindless scrolling. She needed to take control, to find a way to stop wasting time on her phone and social media. Her journey to break free wouldn't be easy, but she was determined. She was ready to try something new, to fight the grip her phone had on her life. The first step was clear. Zara needed to understand why she was so drawn to her phone in the first place. She decided to keep a journal, tracking every time she picked up her phone and how long she spent on it. It wasn't just about time spent on social media. It was about understanding the triggers, the moments when she automatically reached for the device. The next few days were eye-opening. Zara realized that a lot of her phone use was simply out of habit. She would pick it up whenever she felt bored, anxious, or even while watching TV. It wasn't that she was actively seeking out new content. It was that she was filling a space that had been left open in her life by more meaningful activities. As she looked over her notes, Zara realized she needed to replace her phone use with something more fulfilling. She knew that simply deleting the apps or locking her phone away wouldn't solve the underlying issue. The real challenge was finding a way to fill her time with something more engaging and purposeful. I need a plan, Zara thought to herself. Something that will help me break the habit. Zara spent the next few days planning her approach. It became clear that the key to breaking free from her phone wasn't about willpower alone. She needed structure, a routine that would guide her away from mindless scrolling and toward more meaningful, productive activities. The first thing she did was establish a phone-free zone in her day. No phones in the morning, no phones at night. She knew this would be difficult at first, but she also knew it was necessary to create space for herself without the constant pull of notifications. She replaced the time spent checking her phone with something more fulfilling, a morning walk around her neighborhood, followed by 20 minutes of meditation to set a calm tone for the day. During the day, Zara set specific time blocks for social media usage. She knew that banning herself entirely from these apps would only make her crave them more. So, she chose to limit her usage to 30 minutes in the afternoon and 30 minutes in the evening, ensuring that it didn't interfere with the rest of her life. But it wasn't just about limiting her phone time. Zara knew she had to replace it with something more meaningful. She loved reading, but had fallen out of the habit because of her screen addiction. So, she began to read for 30 minutes each day, setting aside time in the evening to get lost in books once more. She also reconnected with old hobbies, like painting and journaling, things she used to love but had abandoned. The key to Zara's success was her intentionality. Every activity she chose had a purpose, to fill her time with joy, creativity, and peace rather than mindless scrolling. By structuring her day in a way that didn't leave room for her phone to dominate, she gradually began to feel more in control. Her friends and family noticed the change. Zara was more present during conversations, less distracted when they were together. She found herself feeling less anxious and more at ease, something she hadn't realized she had been craving. But, of course, it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were moments when Zara slipped. She would check her phone during a meeting or get lost in a TikTok video for far longer than intended. But each time, she reminded herself that breaking free from this habit wasn't about perfection. It was about progress. Each time she slipped, she learned something new about herself and her relationship with her phone. To reinforce her progress, Zara joined a group of people online who were also working to break free from the cycle of social media addiction. They shared tips, strategies, and stories of success and setbacks. It became a source of motivation, knowing that others were going through the same struggles. As weeks passed, Zara began to feel lighter. The weight of endless notifications and the pressure to stay connected faded into the background. She had found a new rhythm in her life, one that was rooted in balance and mindfulness. Months later, Zara reflected on how much had changed. She was no longer checking her phone as soon as she woke up or before going to bed. Her mornings were her own, filled with moments of peace rather than the rush of information from the internet. She felt more connected to her surroundings, more aware of the present moment. Her social media use had become intentional. She no longer mindlessly scrolled through feeds, comparing her life to others. Instead, she followed accounts that inspired her, that aligned with her values, and that brought positivity into her life. Zara had learned to curate her digital environment, making it a place where she could grow and learn rather than a space for endless distractions. But perhaps the most profound change was in her relationships. Zara had rediscovered the value of face-to-face conversations, of truly connecting with the people around her. She found that the more time she spent offline, the more meaningful her interactions became. She wasn't distracted by her phone when talking to friends or family. She listened more, responded with intention, and formed deeper bonds. Zara still had moments when she reached for her phone out of habit, but they were fewer and farther between. She had developed the tools to catch herself and redirect her attention. The pull of social media no longer had the same grip on her. She had learned that it wasn't about fighting against technology or isolating herself from the world. It was about finding a balance, setting boundaries, and being intentional with her time. Her phone no longer controlled her. She controlled how, when, and why she used it. Zara's journey wasn't over. She knew that staying mindful and intentional about her phone use would always be an ongoing process. But she had taken the first step, and that made all the difference. As time went on, Zara found that her connection to the world around her deepened in ways she hadn't anticipated. She had unknowingly been numbing herself with the constant stream of information on her phone, but once she let go of that habit, the real world became so much more vibrant. The conversations she had with her friends were no longer interrupted by notifications. The walk to her favorite cafe became a sensory experience, with the smell of fresh coffee in the air, the sound of the wind rustling through the trees, and the colors of the world around her more vivid than ever before. Zara's initial efforts had been motivated by frustration and the desire to break free from the cycle, but she now realized how much space she had created for herself. Space that was slowly being filled with creativity, inspiration, and the beauty of life that she had missed while scrolling on her phone. One day, Zara sat down with her journal again. It had become a tool she used not just to track her progress, but also to reflect on her emotions, thoughts, and the lessons she had learned over the months. She wrote, "At first, I thought getting rid of my phone was the solution. I thought that if I just limited my time on social media, everything would fall into place. But it wasn't about just stopping the bad habits. It was about creating new ones that brought me joy and fulfillment. I had to learn to fill the empty spaces with meaning." Her reflection made her smile. It hadn't been easy, but the rewards had been far greater than she had imagined. She now dedicated more time to creative endeavors. Painting, which she had once abandoned, became a way for her to express her emotions. Writing, which had always been a passion, flowed easily when she wasn't distracted by the allure of her phone. Zara started a blog, writing about her journey to reclaim her time and the things that truly mattered. She shared stories about how it felt to live in a world so connected but so disconnected at the same time. Her blog became a space for others to share their own experiences, and through the community she built, Zara realized how much more fulfilling it was to connect with others on a deeper level. Zara also found that her physical health improved. She had more energy because she wasn't mindlessly snacking while scrolling. She slept better because her pre-bedtime ritual no longer involved getting lost in Instagram reels or checking emails. She started to feel a sense of calm that had been absent for a long time. And the more she tuned into her body, the more she realized how much the constant digital noise had drained her. But it wasn't just about taking care of herself. It was about rethinking her relationship with time. Zara no longer saw time as something to fill with endless scrolling. She viewed it as something precious, something she could invest in the things that mattered most to her: her relationships, her hobbies, her health, and her personal growth. She started to structure her time differently. The mornings became a time for reflection, journaling, and light stretching before diving into work. Instead of spending hours on her phone, Zara took breaks throughout the day to walk outside, get some fresh air, or talk to a friend. Her evenings were spent reading, cooking, or engaging in creative pursuits. And when she did check her phone, it was intentional, either for something productive or to connect meaningfully with others. Her commitment to this new lifestyle wasn't about being perfect. Zara still had days when she felt the pull of her phone, when scrolling felt almost irresistible. But each time, she was more aware of it. She didn't shame herself. Instead, she acknowledged the moment and gently shifted her focus back to the present. One afternoon, Zara met up with a close friend, Emily, at a local cafe. Emily had noticed the changes in Zara over the past few months, how much more present she had become, and how she seemed to be truly living her life instead of just watching it pass by through a screen. As they sipped their lattes, Emily asked her, "What happened? You're so different now. What did you do?" Zara smiled, feeling the warmth of the connection she shared with her friend. She shared her journey, how she had struggled with her phone addiction, how she had created a new routine, and how she had learned to balance technology with real-life experiences. Emily was intrigued. "It sounds amazing," she said. "I need to do something like that too. I spend way too much time scrolling through my feeds. I think I waste hours a day." Zara nodded, understanding exactly how her friend felt. "It's tough at first," she admitted. "The habit is strong, and the pull of social media is constant. But once you start replacing those mindless moments with things that actually bring you joy, it gets easier. You don't even realize how much time you were wasting until you fill it with something better." Emily was eager to try it, and Zara offered to help. Over the next few weeks, they worked together to create a plan for Emily to break free from the digital noise. They set goals for reducing social media usage, experimented with new activities to replace scrolling, and held each other accountable. Through this process, Zara learned that sharing her journey with others made her commitment even stronger. Teaching someone else the lessons she had learned kept her on track, and it felt good to know that Emily was taking steps to reclaim her time as well. As Emily began to make progress, she shared her excitement with Zara. "I can't believe how much more time I have now. I actually read a whole book in a week, and I've been cooking dinner instead of just ordering takeout. I feel more alive." Zara beamed with pride. She was happy to have helped her friend, but more than that, she felt a deeper sense of fulfillment. By embracing the process herself, she had not only transformed her own life, but also made a positive impact on someone else's. Zara knew her journey was far from over. Staying mindful of how she used her phone and social media would always require attention. There would be times when life got busy, and she might find herself slipping back into old habits. But she now had the tools to recognize when that happened and the self-compassion to redirect herself. The most important thing she had learned was that balance was key. Technology could be a tool for good when used intentionally, but it could also become a source of stress and distraction if it wasn't managed well. She no longer saw her phone as an enemy, but rather as a tool that could serve her if she approached it with mindfulness. As Zara continued to grow, she embraced each new day with a sense of purpose and presence. She had learned that time was one of the most precious resources we have, and that how we choose to spend it shapes our lives. The more she focused on what truly mattered, the more she felt connected to herself, to others, and to the world around her. And with each step forward, Zara realized that breaking free from the grip of her phone had not only helped her stop wasting time, it had helped her rediscover her life. Zara's life had become a true reflection of intentionality. She had spent months developing a new relationship with time, technology, and herself, but it wasn't about striving for perfection. Instead, it was about learning to honor the present moment and finding joy in each day. She had transformed her routines, her mindset, and the way she approached every interaction. Now, her days felt more meaningful and her nights restful. She had replaced her constant checking of social media with deep, rewarding hobbies. Painting, journaling, and writing had filled the spaces that once belonged to aimless scrolling. The habit of picking up her phone had been replaced by picking up a paintbrush or a good book. Zara had even joined a local art group, where she shared her work with others. She felt a sense of pride in creating something with her hands, rather than mindlessly consuming someone else's work. Her mornings had transformed from a frantic scramble to check emails and notifications to a calm routine that set the tone for the rest of the day. She started her mornings with gratitude, taking time to reflect on what she was thankful for before picking up her phone. It was a ritual she'd grown to cherish, a way to start the day grounded in herself before diving into the world of digital connections. Even her work-life balance had improved. Zara had learned how to set clear boundaries between work and personal time. No more answering emails or browsing through work-related notifications once she was off the clock. This allowed her to give her full attention to her friends, her family, and her own self-care. By honoring these boundaries, she felt less drained and more productive when it was time to focus on her job. But perhaps the most significant change was her relationships. Zara's connection to others had deepened in ways she hadn't anticipated. Without the distraction of her phone, she was able to give her undivided attention to her conversations. She listened better, responded with more empathy, and felt present in the moments she shared with those she loved. Her relationships, both old and new, were richer and more fulfilling. She had time to engage fully, to ask questions, to understand the stories of others, and to share her own with authenticity. Her friends, who had noticed the shift in her, began to ask for advice. Zara didn't offer quick fixes or rigid rules. Instead, she shared her journey, how small, consistent changes had led to a profound transformation. She reminded them that it wasn't about eliminating technology from their lives entirely, but about creating a healthy balance, one that allowed them to enjoy the benefits of connection without feeling enslaved by it. One evening, Zara sat on her balcony with a cup of tea, gazing at the city lights in the distance. It had been a while since she had taken the time to sit and reflect. As she watched the world go by, she realized how far she had come. She thought about the early days of her journey when she felt overwhelmed by her phone and the endless pull of social media. At that time, it seemed impossible to escape. But through patience, reflection, and a deep commitment to changing her habits, she had created a new way of living, one that prioritized her well-being, her creativity, and her relationships. Zara's story wasn't just about reclaiming time from a phone. It was about reclaiming her life. It was about choosing what she gave her attention to and finding fulfillment in the things that truly mattered. Technology would always be a part of her life, but it was now just a tool, no longer a source of endless distraction. She had learned to use it with intention, to serve her goals rather than control her time. And as she sat there in the quiet, surrounded by the gentle hum of the evening, Zara knew that she was living a life that was truly her own, a life built on conscious choices, meaningful connections, and the simple joy of being present in each moment. She had stopped wasting time on her phone. In doing so, she had learned how to truly live.